and it was $100 an hour. What we would have gotten in 5 hours from him, he would have been a tenth of a catcher in what we've gotten in a month with you for the same price. So I think you need to double your price.
Isaac. I am 10. We live in Pittsburgh. We found out about you from YouTube.
I love it.
Hey, I'm Brian, Isaac's dad. I'm 42. It's been a great program. He's just moving into 11U this fall, and it's been awesome. So, like I said, we found it between Facebook and YouTube Reels.
I love it. So what was the thing that made you guys actually reach out to me?
Well, he just liked the instruction. So, we watched multiple people. Obviously, we watched a whole bunch of stuff to just kind of learn catching and kept gravitating towards yours. And I think he just liked your instruction in the videos we came across. And then we obviously started going to your channel and to your website and seeing what we could find there and to your multiple channels on all of the different social medias, and seemed like a pretty good idea.
Cool. Brian, what was your biggest concern about the program before you guys started?
You know what? I didn't have a lot of concerns because I personally believe that if you want to grow in your life or in your family's life and you want to be the best, you have to pay for coaching, you have to pay from the best. So I guess the biggest concern would be that I thought we would get our value out of it. It would just be a low production quality, which I didn't really have much of a concern based on what I saw on all the YouTube channels and everything. So from there, it was just going to be the interaction. That's the unknown, because you really don't know. I can read that you're going to have a day-to-day feedback, but that you don't really know what that means until it happens.
Totally. iDog, if you had to describe what it was like you were telling someone who didn't know what we did, what would you say?
They teach you the fundamentals of catching. So once you get those down, then you can go into the more advanced stuff.
I love it. How long did you practice for every day?
Some days it was like 3 hours.
3 hours.
Others like 30-hour practice.
30 minutes. 30 hours.
Right. Very cool. iDog, what did you think about the feedback? What was that part like?
I liked how we reviewed over it, so I knew what I did wrong. So then when we came next video, I could fix that.
That's awesome. Brian, from your perspective, what was the process like, especially when you had on the front side the concern of okay, what is this actually going to be like?
Well, there's two things that I think are great. One is that it's an incremental approach. So when you would have, which we've only done really one catching paid instruction, and you learn 12 things and he forgets 11. And that's the problem. So here you learn maybe 2. I'd say no more than 3 was like the maximum new things that would be in a lesson. And they were all just slight variation, or they were all compounding or part of the same movement. So you're really only learning one thing at a time. And that incremental approach matters because you kind of get that down, and then it's reviewed every day. So even if it's not reviewed directly, when you make the error in 2 weeks, it's called right back out on the feedback. So that was awesome because it constantly brings you back to that baseline. And that's what happens is when you practice a little less, you start deviating. This was a way to not overload, but continue to build on top of each other.
That's so cool. When you think about the biggest change or the biggest difference from before you started to where you are right now today, what would you say is the biggest difference?
Flat glove and elbow up is one of the biggest differences. In this first day of receiving, I finally got it.
Yeah. How did you feel confidence-wise before and after, or how did you feel comfortability wise before and after? What would you say?
Before, it's I couldn't really turn my wrist, so it was uncomfortable, so my glove just kept drooping down. And then when we put that tape on my glove, I could finally see that I could get it flat, so that really helped. I feel confident that my pitchers will probably start throwing better because I finally have a great target.
I like it. Brian, from your perspective, what do you see as the biggest change?
I think just movement, besides positioning, even when he's talking about the target, but just being in position and stances, and then movement from those positions. So for example, just in a natural sense, he wouldn't really get behind the ball. It was all just glove action, arm action to get to the ball. So his body's moving now. When he blocks, his body's moving in a good way. So all of his movement patterns are 10x'd.
It's awesome.
I love the journaling. And I think even if you took a kid at the college age, you're going to have a hard time getting most people to actually do that and understand why. And I see it as an exercise in thinking and reflecting, obviously. And that's what we talked about. I said, which when you really think and dig in, that's what you should be writing about, so that you're digging into what you've done and you're reflecting on it. And like when I was in pilot training, we called it chair flying. So you would fly your mission in your brain before the day before you went out. So you would actually sit in a chair and pretend like you were in an airplane, fly the whole
Wow.
thing. And it was like when you actually did it, it was like the second time you did it. So everything
Yep.
came a lot more natural. You weren't reacting, you were responding, you know.
Yep.
There's a guy, he was drafted, I want to say by the Braves organization, and had an injury a long time ago. Now he's the general manager of an independent league. I mean, he's my age, mid 40s. So his catching style was, 90s. But like he was willing to work with him, and it was $100 an hour. So my thought on that, and now having gone through your program, is what we would have gotten in 5 hours from him, he would have been a tenth of a catcher in what we've gotten in a month with you for the same price. So I think you need to double your price.